and welcome to Leadership in Real Life, Raw Stories of Leading and Learning. I am your host, Erica Taylor Beck, the founder of Authentic Foundations. Hello, everybody. This is Erica, and I welcome you to this episode of Leadership in Real Life. For those who are watching the video version of this podcast, I might look a little bit different because I just got back from the eye doctor and my eyes are dilated and it feels really bright in here. So if my eyes look a little bit glassy, that's what's going on. Today's episode is about time management. And I want to, as always, put out a disclaimer that though my podcast is directed towards leaders, and that's managers and people leaders, or even entrepreneurs who might be trying to develop a team, this particular skill is something that anybody and everybody can benefit from. Because no matter where you are in an organization, or even if you're in school, time management is a fantastic skill to have under your belt because it helps you to manage multiple priorities and how to balance different things, how to prioritize and figure out what you should be focusing on from what maybe you don't even need to do at all. So this is a topic that will be relevant to almost everybody. However, I will reference leaders a lot. So some of this might be directed specifically towards people who are managing other people, but there are still aspects of this that will pertain to anyone. So take what resonates, dismiss what doesn't resonate, and let's get started. Just a quick intro and overview. The goal here is to help people improve time management skills so that you can improve your productivity. Ultimately, I'd love to help reduce your stress and to create space for strategic thinking because you are able to be proactive in thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do it versus reactive to all of the things that are flying at you every day. So that's the ultimate goal of time management. Getting into that, if you are not keeping up effectively with the tasks and the projects on your plate, you are going to look scattered. You won't have enough time to invest in your team because you're just going to be treading water all the time. It's really important for folks to master time management because oftentimes we get stuck focusing on things that really don't matter. And one of the things I've mentioned in the past is discernment. When you are able to discern what deserves your effort, your interest, your attention, that's a sign of leadership and a sign of being able to move up because you're not getting caught in the weeds on every little thing that comes to you and you are picking your battles essentially. What you want to do is learn how to prioritize and focus your efforts where they need to be focused. So where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck? This is a corporate speak term, but what moves the needle? Where are you putting your time? Some of the most common challenges that leaders run into as far as why they are struggling with time management, one is being overcommitted. As leaders, we tend to want to do everything and be involved in everything and feel like we are helping, instrumental, and impactful. Sometimes we say yes to too many meetings, to too many tasks, too many projects. We don't want to look like we are incompetent, so we don't want to say no. We don't want to look like we're not being a team player. And so we stretch ourselves too thin, and then we try really hard to squeeze 26 hours into a 24-hour day. You just can't do it. And if you can do it once, you can't do it sustainably. So we overcommit. When we have too many tasks on our plate, we struggle to prioritize. So sometimes things pop up and they're really urgent, but they're not important. It's just a little fire, but it could be dismissed. And some things are really important, but you think, okay, I have a longer window to get that done. And then they fall to the wayside as all these little fires pop up. What you're doing is focusing on the wrong things because you don't have enough time now to focus on this really big, important thing that you've had 3 weeks to do. Another time management challenge, especially for leaders, is when we get stuck in micromanaging. And nobody wants to admit it, but there are times when I think we all micromanage a bit because we want to make sure things are getting done. And we spend too much time on tiny details. And when I say micromanaging, it's not necessarily micromanaging other people, but just that you yourself are trying to do too much and micromanage all of it when you could just give it to somebody else to do, give them the guidelines on how to do it effectively, and let them do it. Just let them do their jobs. We want to be way too involved and we are owning too much and we're not letting go. Or if we do finally delegate it, then we're micromanaging that person and we're hounding them on every little detail instead of giving them the trust and autonomy to get it done. Another challenge that we run into is constant interruptions. People walking by and, hey, do you have a quick second? Which it's never a second. That's okay. Usually it's minutes. But when you have a handful of people doing that, that's hours out of your day that you are spending with a quick stop by. It could be emails. If you are somebody who has your email open all day and you see the little notification that pops up and every time you see it, you look at it and you get distracted, that takes your focus away from what you're doing. So emails can be a challenge. Same thing with Slack or Teams or any other instant messaging service, phone calls, honestly, your own cell phone. So even if it's not work related, if you're getting texts or calls or notifications on your personal phone, that's going to pull your focus away. So ultimately, it's just the constant interruptions that we have. And then lastly, lack of planning. And this is where we are not leading with intention, but we are reacting to what's coming at us in the day. If you are just reacting all the time, that is going to make you struggle with your time management. Now that we've talked about some of the challenges that leaders and people have, some strategies that we can use to help with that are some different techniques. There are a lot of techniques out there, and you can find one that works best for you, or maybe even multiple that work best for you that you can take different factors from. One is the Eisenhower matrix, and it's a 4 quadrants of what is urgent and important. So what you do is you create your axis with urgent and important, and then you put your 4 quadrants and you put in tasks. And so maybe one is doing my one-on-ones with my team, and then maybe something else is responding to instant messages. One is this other project, and you put them based on what you think is urgent and or important. You put it where it falls. And if it's something that is in one box, that means that you are the one that should do it and you should try to do it right away. There's another box where it's important, but it's not urgent, so you should be the one to do it. You don't have to do it today, but you need to do it and plan time to do it soon. And then if it is urgent, but it's not important, that's something that you can assign or delegate to somebody else so it gets done quickly, but it doesn't require your level. And if it's not urgent and it's not important, then why is it on your list? It's not. So you can identify how you should prioritize those tasks. I mentioned delegation and assigning things to other people. I have some assessments on my site that will help you to identify what tasks that you yourself have to own and must do versus what tasks can be assigned to other people. And we're not just assigning things because we don't want to do them or because it's busy work or we don't feel like it's, important enough for our level of knowledge and attention. We're not trying to be jerks and condescending, but there are some things that would be a great opportunity for other people to be doing. Understanding what needs to be done by you and what could be shared with other people, where other people might have opportunities for growth or development, or maybe if just areas of interest. And then also to give people opportunities and share some of the load. So one, it helps take stuff off your plate, but two, it gives people opportunities to grow and develop where they're interested. So that's the power of delegating. Another strategy is to do some calendar time blocking, focusing on some deep work where you literally block off uninterrupted time. And when we talk about boundaries and blocking time, one of the hardest boundaries to keep is one with yourself. And it's important to remember that if I block off this afternoon from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock because I have to get caught up on this project, and then something comes across my desk, and I think, I have time from 2 to 4. Technically, you don't. You don't have a meeting scheduled from 2 to 4 with other people, but you have a meeting with yourself to get this other important project done. And so if you take this new thing that comes across your desk and you work on that from 2 to 4, when are you going to do that other project? And if the answer is I don't know, then you really need to figure out when you have time in your schedule to do it later. And if the new project has a longer timeline, then you should put that one aside and do that later because this one needs to be done sooner. So when you block off time on your calendar, respect that time and use it for what it is for. Don't get distracted, turn off your notifications, put your phone away, don't listen to any social media or YouTube or different videos that might be distracting. Focus that time on just the projects that you need to be working on. I mentioned earlier getting the best bang for your buck. That's called the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle. It's where essentially 20% of your efforts drive 80% of your results. And so if you have 100 tasks that you need to do, the theory is that 20 of those tasks are going to have 80% of the impact. So if you did the other 80 of these little tasks, they might make some progress, but it's not really going to move the needle as much as these other 20. This could look like shifting your focus to coaching employees and developing your team so that they can be delegated to and have some more ownership versus you just responding to emails. If you're spending your time on those emails versus actually working with your team, which of those two is going to move the needle more? And so if you invest more time with your team, again, they can then start to take on some of the stuff that's on your plate so that you can delegate and share the load a little bit better. Learn how to set boundaries and say no politely, respectfully. You don't have to say no rudely, but you can say, I have these other projects on my plate. If I take this on, what can be postponed? I don't have the bandwidth to do all of them. effectively. So if this is something that you deem a priority, which of these other things can we say is not the priority so that I can postpone it or reassign it? In that case, your manager might say, oh, I didn't realize that you were that busy. I will give this to somebody else. Or they will work with you and say, this other project, project B, doesn't need to be done right away. You can put that aside or assign it to Bob and work on this other thing I just asked you to work on. So there are ways that you can say no respectfully or to ask for prioritization. I have these three things. They're all due at the same time. How do you want me to prioritize them? And so if you're not sure, ask. And if you need help, also ask. Because if you know that these three things are all due at the same time and there is literally no way that you're going to get them done, telling your manager up front is a much better solution than getting to the end when everything is due and then telling them, I didn't get this one done because I had these other two I had to work on. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? I had no idea that you had these three things. So make sure that you're communicating effectively and setting boundaries. So for yourself, again, block off time on your calendar. Not every hour on your calendar has to be open and available for meetings. If there is a time, especially when you find your zone of genius, when you say, okay, my power hour is early in the morning. So from 7 to 9, that's when I get my best work done. I don't want to go to a meeting during that time. That's not a good use of my energy. I want to focus on myself and my projects. You're an afternoon person from 2 to 4, 2 to 5, that's your window of when you get the most stuff done. That might not be a good time for meetings unless it's really collaborative meetings. So learn where your hotspot is essentially on what you can do, and then try to prioritize your projects and your focus time during those windows. Also, remember that when you are blocking off time, to hold that boundary for yourself. I've got this free block of an hour and a half today. It's not a free block. It's time that you set aside to get caught up on projects or to get caught up on tasks that you can't get caught up on during the day. And so you pushing that aside for something else is just delaying the work that you're trying to do. Try to set better boundaries for yourself and hold to them as much as you can. Now, sometimes there are things that pop up that are emergencies that do require you shift your schedule. I'm not saying be inflexible. What I am saying is be mindful about how you are treating your time and that you are respecting your own boundaries and that you're not caving in and giving up all of your free time to other people because you will never get caught up on your work and you'll be working after hours on weekends because you're not able to get things done during the workday. And if that's the case, you're probably overloaded. So one thing that you can do is take a look at your schedule. And if you have meetings with people, maybe you have check-ins with folks, are they an hour long? Do they need to be a full hour? Can they be 30 minutes? Can you do quick check-ins maybe more frequently and just do 15 minutes here or there, stagger them a little bit better? So looking at ways that you can prioritize your time and looking at meetings that you're invited to, and do I have to be the one to go? Like, am I adding value to this meeting? Is this meeting adding value to me or to my team? Do I need to be here? And if the answer is yes, this is relevant for you and your team, but no, you don't have to be the one to do it. Can I delegate this and have somebody else on my team attend in my place? Or if it's not relevant to anything, can we just take this team off of this message and send me the email summary if needed? Because it's a waste of time for me to go here when nothing that we're talking about impacts me or my group. So learn how to prioritize and say no respectfully when things don't line up the way that you need them to. And there are a lot of tools that you can use to help with your time management and whatnot, and some that are free. I'm not sponsored and I'm not sponsoring anybody or anything. These are just some tools that I have used, but Trello is out there, Asana. We've used Miro in the past. There's Google, and for Google Calendar is out there. So there are a lot of different tools that you can use with project management, time management. So if you have a remote team, you don't have to all be in one spot to update a project board. You can have a shared virtual project board and people can add notes asynchronously and catch up when they are able to. So those are some tools that we had used in the past. And I think Microsoft Teams has some scheduling and different types of project tools as well. So finally, just a quick wrap. These podcasts are higher level topics. We're not trying to do a huge deep dives. I do have courses on my website that will help with some of these areas. One of them is specifically time management. It has some resources in there as far as different techniques that you can use and different strategies as far as the Eisenhower matrix, the Pareto principle. There are some others in there that are really helpful for folks on how to balance time. There are different templates there for daily and weekly to-do lists and planners. There are some quick checklists and things as well. So I do have some templates in there that can help people who are struggling with managing their time. I also have courses on saying no politely. So if you are feeling overloaded with projects and tasks, there are some resources in there on how to politely say no, or can you please help me prioritize because I am having a hard time keeping up with the amount of projects I'm taking on. So some respectful ways to say that without feeling like you are being rude or shirking responsibility. I have resources on delegation. So how to delegate effectively. There are assessments on what types of tasks and projects can be delegated, as well as a readiness assessment on, is this person ready to be delegated to? Should I delegate projects to Bob, or is he not ready yet? So there's some information in there. So if you're looking for some resources around setting boundaries and saying no, time management, delegation, I have courses on those topics on my website, which is authenticfoundations.podia.com. And if you use code podcast10, you can get 10% off any of my coaching and or courses online. I hope that this was helpful and that it helps to give you at least a few ideas of things that you can start doing immediately to implement some change. Again, time management is a skill that everybody needs. And that even if you're good at it, there are probably still ways that you can improve. So I have some really great resources out there. I hope that you will consider looking at them. And I will catch you next time on Leadership in Real Life. Thank you so much and have a great day. If you are interested in looking at any of my online courses or my coaching services, you can find them at authenticfoundations.podia.com. Use code podcast10 at checkout to get 10% off anything and everything on my website.